Too often when black people, white people, non-black, brown, whatever people are having this conversation, sometimes the arguments that are posed is that we are in this post-racial society, that hair is not that big of a deal, epithets of the past are somehow just of the past and they're not something that we deal with on a huge or a large scale. This statement seems to imply otherwise. What's good, YouTube? TP Locs here, bringing you guys another video today. Yes, I've got a very interesting video for you all today. Michelle Obama basically confirming that America is not ready for black hairstyles. If you're interested in that video, stay tuned. Per usual, if you have not done so already, please hit that like and subscribe button right now. If you have hit that like and subscribe button, definitely want to make sure you hit that notification bell to stay notified on all the posts the moment I post. All right, let's get into it. You guys, this video was very important for me because I think within the Loc community, we get into a lot of arguments about affirming the black experience, particularly when we're talking about whether or not black people or white people should have locks or people of other races should have locks. I think the divide oftentimes comes from the lack of understanding of the black experience. I think this example with Michelle Obama provide a very real and reasonable example of this that I think we can all sort of understand and hopefully empathize with. Let's get into the article. This article comes from the Washington Post. Michelle Obama says Americans weren't ready for her natural black hair. She wanted to wear braids, but said she straightened her hair as the US adjusted to a black first lady. Now, right out of the gate, before we get into the meat of the article, there's some things that very clearly stand out. The adjustment to a black first lady and a black president. Far too often when black people, white people, non-black, brown, whatever people are having this conversation, sometimes the arguments that are posed is that we are in this post-racial society, that hair is not that big of a deal, epithets of the past are somehow just of the past and they're not something that we deal with on a huge or a large scale. This statement seems to imply otherwise. The notion that there is a very real resistance and oftentimes a negative response to blackness is sort of being affirmed within the first couple sentences of this article. And I just think that's interesting, okay? Comment below if you have any thoughts. First Lady Michelle Obama considered wearing her hair in braids while living in the White House, but then she thought of the American people. They were just getting adjusted to having a black president in the Oval Office and a black family in the White House. Would have been easier to keep her hair in braids, Obama said, but nope, they're not ready for it, she added, recalling her thinking at the time. So as a result, she sacrificed doing her hair as she would have liked so her husband's administration can focus on achieving its goals instead of sinking political capital into putting onto a hairstyle-induced firestorm. Let me keep my hair straight, Obama said of her mindset at the time. Let's get this healthcare passed. Those of you guys who remember the Obama presidency and Obama just coming into office, we know all of the xenophobia, all the racism that he dealt with. They were mad at this brother because he was wearing tan suits. They wanted to see his birth certificate. It was Osama bin Laden's crony, like he was being called the Antichrist. All of these things. For a lot of you guys out there, you're saying, well, he was elected twice by the American people. The electorate did not fail him. The system did not fail him. He was elected. Isn't that a bigger story? Absolutely. I think that's a huge story and it's telling for where we are and how we progressed as a nation. But I think it's very important to understand that there are two realities that exist. Two things can be simultaneously true. It can be true that we made progress, but it's also very important to understand there are places where we have not progressed. And this would be an example of that, in my opinion. So when we're having these conversations, I think it's very important to affirm those moving forward. But again, that's just me, all right? But let's continue on with the article. Obama said her dilemma was an extreme example of the decisions black women make daily to navigate the politics and sensibilities of their workplaces. They often find it easier, healthier, and safer to wear braids, dreadlocks, or afros, but feel the pressure from white beauty standards and workplace norms to chemically straighten their hair for a more professional, clean-cut appearance. We deal with it. The whole thing about, do you show up with your natural hair, Obama said. That previous statement eliminates the ability for anybody to be able to say,
well, bro, it's just hair. It's just hair. Why are you guys making such a big deal? Why are you trying to gatekeep hair? Why are you reacting so emotionally about your hair?
Because for centuries, Black women specifically, right? We're talking about black women in this instance, have had to deal with respectability politics that have made not only their hairstyles seem unprofessional, but their very hair textures. Quite often, we do cast negative aspersions on those black women for trying to maintain those natural styles. A lot of arguments out there that will, assume that this is just a practical, manifestation of capitalism and businesses acting within their best interest. But we have to look at the history to acknowledge where a lot of those rules and stipulations have stemmed from. And I do think in reading this and hearing from these people, it should be reasonable for us to assert that no, hair is not just hair. Hair has some very real political ramifications for some people, and not all. Let's continue. Attitudes about natural black hairstyles such as braids and dreadlocks have shifted. Earlier this year, the House passed the Crown Act, legislation that would prohibit discrimination based on someone's hairstyle, including those in which the hair is tightly coiled or tightly curled, locks, cornrows, twists, braids, bantu knots, and afros. Although the bill stalled in the Senate, Alaska in September became the 19th state to pass legislation to protect black people from being punished for how they wear their hair. California's original Crown Act, which stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair, passed in 2019. Here is an example of progress that we're making. 19 states have acknowledged the Crown Act and believe that that change should be made moving forward. But of the 50 states that we have, that is 31 states that have not. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, there'll be more states that make this change, hopefully moving forward. But just understand, we're not even in a space where the majority of the states can get this bill passed. And all this bill is asking for is the uplifting of discrimination based on hair. We're not at a place where all 50 states can agree on that. So just please keep that in mind. Yes, there's progress, but there's plenty more to be had. If you have a legitimate reason why dreadlocks or natural braid hairstyles should be prohibited in the workplace, please leave them in the comment section below. Now let's continue the article. Despite growing acceptance of naturally worn black hair, stories about hair-based discrimination pop up regularly. In 2018, a 6-year-old black boy was blocked from attending the first day of school because he wore locks below his ears. Later that year, a referee forced a black high school wrestler to cut his dreadlocks before letting him compete. And in 2019, a television reporter said her news director told her that her natural hair was unprofessional and pressured her to change it to what looks best, quote unquote. There are a bunch of anecdotes at this point about locks just not being welcome in society. You can go to private schools where they're not allowing kids to go to school. You look at these wrestling examples. There's just plenty of examples at this point. And again, the article didn't really need to share them for me, but for those of you guys who often question the big dealness, again, more examples. Okay, let's continue. Minda Harts, the founder of career development company for women of color, told the Washington Post in 2019 about a conversation she had with a white headhunter bemoaning her struggles to recruit black women to become corporate director. When Hart asked her whether she would be more comfortable with a black executive who wore a ponytail or a natural hairstyle like an afro, the woman opted for a clean-cut ponytail. These unconscious and conscious biases keep us from even having the opportunity to have a seat at the table. We haven't even had the chance to introduce ourselves, and there are these assumptions about unprofessionalism, Hart said at the time. I'll be honest with you. I wear my hair straight probably 99% of the time because of being in corporate America. I've seen how clients who have braids and natural hairstyles can be looked upon. It's very important to point out these biases because you are able to see the bigger picture of how these biases can sort of affect the disparity of outcomes for certain individuals. I also think this is very telling because so often black women will be getting just this toxicity about, well,
why y'all mad about people wearing locks and braid styles and y'all out here wearing weaves?
Clearly we can see that in order to progress in this country, even at the very top level for someone as accomplished as Michelle Obama is literally the most pedigreed, accomplished, educated first lady we have ever seen, to the point that Michelle Obama could probably run a pretty competitive presidential campaign in her own right. She could literally probably be a pretty viable Democratic candidate right now. That woman was discouraged by her hair. She felt like she needed to wear straight hair just to accomplish what she needed to accomplish in her role as a first lady. She ain't the president, just the first lady. She felt like she would hinder her husband's ability to do what he needed to do because of her hair. There's people that are still trying to bemoan black women for wearing weave. Obviously, there are some women, some people that abuse weave, extensions, and all those things. But we have to acknowledge the foundation for them even looking at that as an option. As a country, generally speaking, we're not even ready for them to walk up into a room with afros. We're not. If you're saying that we are, it's still only 19 states that's really about it. So let's just legitimize some of these experiences moving forward. Okay, let me finish the article. On Tuesday, Obama discussed her hairstyle choice as sitting first lady with Ellen DeGeneres, who moderated the sold-out event. After citing the 2014 uproar over her husband's tan suit, Obama imagined the fallout if she had changed her hairstyle. Remember when she wore braids? "Those are terrorist braids. Those are revolutionary braids," Obama said, assuming the role of her critics. Nearly 6 years removed from the White House, Obama is now wearing braids, something she showed off in the middle of her talk with DeGeneres by grabbing her hair and interjecting, "Braids, y'all," to applause from the crowd. That is where the article ends. What's crazy about Michelle Obama's experience was not only was she catching hell because of the braids, she was catching hell for how she looked. The people thought she was manly. You know, there was a senator, if I'm not mistaken, that said that she was a man or called her or likened her to an ape. I'll find the exact thing that kind of happened. She ended up getting in trouble for that. Her experience as a black woman was terrible, specifically because she was black. And there's a lot of people that will argue that until they're blue in the face, just to argue the point that we are at this post-racial society where we don't have these problems, and if we do have these problems, it's just a small cult following of people that are still upholding them and maintaining them. Nothing that has any real implications on black people in real life, right? Here we have someone who has done everything right in terms of the quote-unquote American dream. They come from a two-parent background, they went to college, Ivy League at the highest level, they devoted their life to public service, and now find themselves at their highest level still dealing with racial microaggressions. Hopefully we can take this anecdote as an example of how much of a conversation this still is. If a black man and a black woman at the highest level are still receiving the type of microaggressions that they're receiving simply for being black, simply for trying to wear their natural hair, we have to add more legitimacy to this conversation. We have to be more empathetic, we have to be more understanding, and we have to use all of that to bridge the gap. If we keep stalling there, then we're not going to be able to build that bridge, because we have perspectives that don't lend any credence to one another, that aren't able to concede to any reasonable points. America is not ready for a president with locks. America is not ready for a president with an afro. America is not ready for a president with braids. Gotta be honest about that, and we have to be honest with why that is the case. No more disingenuous arguments, no more trying to delegitimize the side that's trying to explain their experience. Let's just take it for what it is so we can move forward. Hopefully this video helped with someone's understanding today. I hope that if you were a person that came into it watching and you weren't empathetic, you became empathetic. I hope if you've been having this conversation, you continue to have it. I just hope that this helps. If not, obviously, I'm gonna continue to do my job to try to help. This is something that we're gonna continue to deal with, and I hope that we find positive ways to do so. If you guys enjoyed this, leave your comments below. It's been TP Locs, signing out.
TP Locs fam, what is going on? You already know it's your boy Backpack Beatz. If you like the music on my homie TP's channel, definitely come over to my channel. I got more of these. I'm making beats every week. I'm also DJing every week for the No More Free Beat Show. So definitely make sure you stay tuned in. Got a lot of stuff popping. I appreciate everybody who's been coming from TP's channel as well. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate y'all for coming through, showing love. It's nothing but a community over here for real. We got the dope vibes. So definitely stay tuned to what we doing on TP's channel. Make sure you stay tuned to what I'm doing on my channel also. And it's gonna be fire, man. Dope beats, dope music, dope vibes. Appreciate y'all.